Alright, so hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and today we're gonna take a quick look at the Kuva Quartakk, or rather my variant of the Kuva Quartakk, the Rahbirtila Hobuho Kuva Quartakk. And yes, I will keep pronouncing these in the most ridiculous way I can think of. But first things first, you get the Kuva Quartakk just like any other Kuva weapon from a lich. So you basically have to keep spawning liches until you get one that is the Kuva Quartakk, and once you vanquish him, you'll be able to pick it up in your foundry. The Kuva Quartakk is MR13 and the base version does 54.1 damage per shot. 20 is impact, 15.7 is puncture, and 18.4 is slash. You are, however, going to have a random amount of bonus damage added on top of that, with the damage type being determined by the Warframe you spawned the lich with. Now, the biggest difference between the standard Quartakk and the Kuva Quartakk is that the Kuva Quartakk has sort of two different fire modes. It fires full auto when you're firing it from the hip, but switches to semi-auto when you aim down sights. And it also switches from firing one round at a time to a 4-round burst, so you basically have to multiply the base damage by 4 to get the actual damage of the semi-auto. And finally, both the full auto as well as the semi-auto modes are extremely accurate. Now, the semi-auto mode has pretty solid 21% crit chance with a slightly below average 1.9 times crit multiplier, relatively low fire rate of only 4.83 and 33% status chance, which is very nice. And when you switch to semi-auto mode, you basically trade some status for more crit. So the crit chance on the semi-auto is 31%, with the crit multiplier being slightly above average at 2.3 times, with a fire rate of 6.33, which might sound like a lot, but there's still a noticeable delay between shots. It also gains 0.5 meters of punch through, which is nice, and the status chance goes down a little bit to 27%. And finally, I also want to mention that you can aim down sights when going full auto. You just have to start firing and then aim down sights, though as soon as you stop, it goes back to semi-auto. Now, since this is a Kuva weapon, you ideally want to put on 5 Forma to extract all the mastery from it, but you realistically only need 1 Forma, which is going to be a V, even if you're using an Exiles mod. But for this build, I'm running Serration for damage, Split Chamber for multi-shot, then Point Strike for crit chance, and Vital Sense for crit damage, and then for the Exiles, I actually went with Stabilizer, which is quite nice because the semi-auto kicks quite a bit. If, however, you don't mind the recoil on the semi-auto, or you're just going full auto, you can put in something like Vigilante Supplies, which is going to provide you with ammo mutation, so you will never run out of ammo, and you also get the enhancing crit bonus from the set. So this one is kind of up to you. Then we have Argent Scope, which I put in for the extra crit chance on a headshot when I'm aiming down sights, but this is mainly because I prefer to use the semi-auto mode to the full auto mode. And if I were to build this more towards full auto, I would just take Argent Scope out if you don't want to do the whole, start firing and then aim down sights thing, and I would put in more fire rate, which would most likely be Primed Shred for some punch through. And finally, I have 3 dual stat mods, so Thermite Rounds for heat and status, and then Malignant Force and High Voltage for corrosive and status. Though I do switch these over to gas and electricity when I'm fighting high level corpus. Also, I know some people will be asking about a Viral Hunter Munitions build, and I really don't like it on this one, because the fire rate is just not there on either of the 2 fire modes, and the crit chance is not super reliable when it comes to the full auto. And it's also kind of difficult to hit consistent consecutive headshots with the full auto mode because of all the impact procs. Basically, as soon as you start shooting something, they will start flailing all over the place thanks to the impact, which makes them much harder to headshot. And when you really want to take advantage of a Hunter Munitions Viral build, you need to go for headshots. I actually feel like in general the full auto mode is just not as good as the semi-auto mode. It's definitely nice that it's there, especially for when enemies close the distance a little bit too fast, so you can just fire from the hip and deal with them that way instead of grabbing your melee weapon, but I feel overall the semi-auto mode is just better. And as far as the overall performance is concerned, here by the way we can see an example of the gas and electricity setup versus Corpus. The overall performance is solid. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible. It's just a solid gun. It just gets the job done. And this is also the weapon's biggest downside for me. It's just solid, it gets the job done, but it doesn't get me excited. It does the job you want it to do, but it does it in a sort of very meh way. Personally, I would not really mark this as a must-have weapon, but if you like what you see, just go and get it. That at the end of the day is the point of these videos, to show you what these guns are like so you can decide whether you want to pick them up or not. So yeah, the Kuva Quartakk, a somewhat mediocre gun that is a little bit of fun, though definitely not my number 1. It also looks a bit crude, but when you point it at a dude, you pull the trigger and bam, you won. Bye bye.